And welcome back to coverage here of the Mythic Invitational, owned by HP. We are jumping in here. I see Savjz down there getting lined up against Pterodactyls for the win. And we are underway. Let's just jump right in here, David, and see what we're looking at. We see Kaya Orzhov Usurper doing her thing on the battlefield. But at 19 life, Savjz looking pretty decent here, even against a Goblin Chain Whirler and a pair of Skewer the Critics.
Yeah, he's got a couple of absorbs in hand, so he's going to absorb.
Oh, look, you see Pterodactyl? She's like, yep. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, it looks like this game he's stabilized pretty early, which is why he's at such high life, plus the absorbs.
You know, I'm going to tell you, looking down at the screen, lower left, there's Pterodactyls, and that is the look of somebody who's waiting for this game to end.
Over it.
Yeah,
I've seen that face.
She's like, I know where this is going, and I've seen this before, and I think I've had enough.
Yeah, it looks like she. I know her other deck was we refer to it as Dinosaurs. She was the only one to bring that list, and she's up 1-0.
Wow, did she won with that?
She won with the Dinosaurs list.
Good for her.
Hey, I'm loving it. Stay on brand. Pterodactyls, Dinosaurs, let's go. Savjz's other deck, mono white aggro. So mono white aggro seems like it didn't fare too well against the big green and red dinosaur creatures. Rule dinos. Attacking the Kaya. Moment of craving. Yeah, this one looks.
Did you see that look? She just rolled her eyes. She's just like, come on.
This one's all butt locked up. Unfortunately, when you're in the red deck here and you get in this spot and your opponent's at this high of life and you're drawing one card a turn, you don't have really any card advantage other than light up the stage. It's really hard to get back in the game against a deck like this with Planeswalkers and Chemist's Insights, cards that draw you multiple cards for one.
Yeah, and with Savjz sitting at a cool 29, make that 31 life.
2 Planeswalkers.
This one's just about in the books.
5 or more loyalty.
Shock off the top of the library for Pterodactyls. That ain't it.
And listen, I understand this is a very prestigious tournament and this is a big deal, but there's no shame in clicking the concede button sometimes. As we saw, sometimes these matches can go to time, and that can come to kick you in the butt. So
it's a really good point, David. We are playing timed rounds here. If you play MTG Arena at home, you'll be used to the rope, right? The little timer that builds up, and then if you need to take a little bit of extra time on a turn, it'll count you down to say, okay, this is about how much time you have. But here we're actually playing timed rounds, meaning that we've got 45 minutes to complete the match, but there's no timer in game. So the players are just responsible to play at a reasonable game pace so that they can make sure to finish it in time. And what that means is there are times when it's strategically correct to concede.
Absolutely, and she was able to get rid of the Teferi using her 2 burn spells, but unfortunately for her, Savjz has another Teferi. He's going to go ahead and pondered using Thought Erasure to just scour.
But he's decided against it, mountain off the top of the library for Pterodactyls, and she says, ta-da, I present you another mountain.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more use of the emotes this weekend. I'm a big fan of using them. I think I'm gonna put you on someone who mutes them right away, don't you? You probably have them muted.
You got me. The first time somebody said good game, I'm like, come on, can't do this.
For me, it's the nice. Whenever anything
nice. I do like the nice.
Spamming nice whenever something doesn't go their way is kind of amazing.
All right, so I heard an idea and I want your take on it. New emote, rude.
I love it.
Great, right?
I mean, I'm all for more emotes.
Yeah,
more the better.
Because like you can only use that in kind of a fun way, right? Like somebody plays a big spell, you put rude. It's funny, right? It's like you can't.
I mean, I'm all for just opening up chat. Let's just talk about it.
Oh, you like to just get into it. Okay, okay. I see how you roll.
Let's just talk about what's happening, buddy. I just want to tell my opponent that I've drawn 19 lands. Like I know they can see it. I just want to listen. I've drawn 19 lands.
I am flooding. There's that Thought Erasure, though the Wizard's Lightning is going to get cast in response. I like it. She's setting the tone here. I don't care about your Planeswalkers. I'm going upstairs. Back down to 28 for you.
BBS cover-up is an interesting one. You don't see it too often. It's an all-star in Ravnica Limited. It's a really amazing card. And constructed, it might be considered a little expensive at 4 mana to counter a spell.
And there's risk factor now for Pterodactyl. She's going through the motions here.
It's a good one. It's also a reason to probably have been holding that 5th land. You know, she was drawing and playing them. Because now next turn, if she doesn't draw a land, she draws a business spell. She won't be able to cast risk factor. But if she does, you know, if she had that land in hand, she could do it. Although with Savjz being at 24, I think it's pretty easy to just take 4 and go to 20. He's also got a source of life gain if he wants with the Kaya, if he ends up exiling a creature at some point.
Yeah, which he's done multiple times already. It's just Pterodactyls hasn't found him anything. And she's going to scoop him up here. She says, all right, all right, all right. Land number 6 was enough, and that's going to even things up. Savjz is on 1, and so is Pterodactyl, so we're going to get a game 3 here.
And with Kaya, you can't jumpstart risk factor anyways. That risk is getting exiled by the Kaya, so there's no reason to hold a land. My apologies.
No worries, David. And that one was basically in the books anyway. So what are the choices now as we move on to game number 3? The players do get to choose their decks. You mentioned that Pterodactyls has Gruul Dinos and Mono Red Aggro as her choices. What do you like here?
Well, so here's the thing, how to look at it. I don't think Savjz will pick the Mono White Aggro, even though Mono White Aggro has been probably one of the best performing decks we've seen on camera. It doesn't have a good matchup against Mono Red. That's known, even though as we saw it just beat Cedric Phillip. I mean, just beat Luis. It still doesn't. And he lost against the Gruul Dinos decks because it just goes bigger. I think we're likely going to see him play Esper Control. So then it's up to Pterodactyls to figure out which of her decks is a better matchup against Esper Control. That I don't have much experience with the Dinos deck, so I'd probably go with this Mono Red deck that we just showed you here. But let's take a look at the Gruul Dinos deck and see. I mean, do we think it has a good matchup against the Esper Control? 3 Carnage Tyrants is nice, but Kaya's Wrath does answer that pretty easily.
Wow, 2 Cinder Vines in the main.
Rhythm of the Wild is another interesting one. I mean, there are only 4 absorbs, but if you're able to resolve one of those, your creatures can't be countered, and they have haste.
Yeah.
Like, they have Riot, but you likely give them haste against the control deck.
That's right.
So this is Esper Control deck. Looks fairly standard, like we've seen most of the players play. He does play 2 Kayas in his deck, which is something I haven't seen much of. 4 Moment of Cravings and no cast down, so he's better prepared for the smaller decks, but you want cast down against the Gruul Dinos deck. So I think we actually might see Pterodactyls play the Gruul Dino deck.
It's on brand.
Savjz's Mono White deck looks pretty standard, as we've seen, 19 lands, bunch of small 1-drop white creatures, 3 unbreakable formations. So she did go with the Gruul Dinos.
There it is, the Gruul Dinos, and he's going to try to sweep him away with Kaya's Wrath, it looks like. And we've got keeps from our players here, so let's get underway.
She does have 2 Rhythm of the Wilds.
They do stack.
Yeah, but you usually don't want both.
No.
You'd rather have some creatures, but it looks like it might get negated by Savjz. And if it does, then having that second is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Rhythm of the Wild, good card, but not a threat in and of itself. And having 2 of them in your opener means that your opener's kind of threat light, honestly. That being said, she does at least have Itali, Rekindling Phoenix, and Gruul Spellbreaker to accommodate. Ooh, here's Thought Erasure, though, from Savjz. He's not going to go for the negate hold.
Likely taking the Gruul Spellbreaker because that's the card he doesn't have a clean answer to. He'd have to cast Kaya's Wrath. Because if he does take a Rhythm of the Wild, she can just play another. And I don't think you want to take I don't think you want to take a 6-drop card. Now, you could say the Rekindling Phoenix, because that also lives through Kaya's Wrath, so that's a really tough one to deal with. And it does seem like he's going to go with that. So she'll probably play Spellbreaker. He'll look to Kaya's Wrath it. But,
well, the question, yeah, see, this is what I was wondering. Is she actually going to try to set up for a longer game with the 2 Rhythms of the Wild?
Well, getting Rhythm of the Wild out now means Gruul Spellbreaker won't be countered next turn. She'll be able to give it haste and the +1/+1 counter. So
another Rhythm of the Wild? All right, well, she's not going to get greedy.
Riot.
Haste and the counter, so 4/4 coming in right now. Bang, down to 16 goes Savjz, and there's a land drop for the turn to pass it back as well. Though I have to say, Pterodactyl's out of threats now. Itali, Primal Storm's the only creature left in her hand, and she's still 2 mana away from casting that.
Yeah, I mean, she really would like those Rhythm of the Wilds to be creatures, or at least 1 creature and 1 land.
Yeah, drawing 3 of them's not what you want. 1 of them, okay, good. 3rd one, not so good.
Oh, wow.
Wow, Savjz does not fire off.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd rather Chemist's Insight and look for something and save the Wrath in case she decides to play a 2nd creature. He can cast Chemist's Insight and maybe find a removal spell and deal with that. And if he doesn't, he's still disincentivizing her to play 2 creatures because she knows Kai's Wrath could come.
He's going to respond with Chemist's Insight here, though that means that Rhythm of the Wild is going to resolve, and Pterodactyls passes the turn back now to Savjz. So, what do we got here?
He's got a choice. First, he's going to use his Search for Azcanta, but afterwards, he could cast Kaya's Wrath, but he does know that if she draws a land, he knows about that Itali in her hand.
Yeah, you can tell the little eyeball there on the card for Pterodactyls means that your opponent has seen this card before. They are aware of it, and they can see it on their screen right now.
And with 2 copies of the Rhythm of Wild, it gets double Riot, so 1 can give it haste, the other can make it a 7/7, plus the trigger to cast more stuff. I don't think
Put him down to 1?
I don't think he's going to Kaya's Wrath. I think he might hold up Vraska's Contempt If she plays it pre-combat, he can exile it. If she doesn't, he can exile the Gruul. Actually, the Gruul Spellbreaker has Hexproof.
It does.
He won't be able to do that, so we'll have to do it now. He could play Teferi here and tuck the Gruul Spellbreaker and hope she doesn't have a land on top of her deck, because if she does, we're going to see the Italy come out, gain haste and a counter, likely just attack his life total being at 12, and have a trigger for both players' libraries.
This is a very annoying spot for Savjz. He's really in kind of one of these spots where he's not going to be happy, and he's going to have to cross his fingers when he passes the turn back to Pterodactyls with his Dinos deck. It beat him once already this round. Doesn't want to lose to it twice. He's really considering running out to Teferi.
Yeah, there's just no real clean answer.
He does nothing.
Wow. And she didn't draw the land, so he is, I guess he's going to take the 4 here.
I guess he's just going to Chemister's Insight again.
Chemister's Insight and try to find something else, but he's going to be at 8 life.
Boy, he is playing with fire here, and Pterodactyls for the win, slamming in there with that Gruul Spellbreaker. Another Rhythm of the Wild is the only play.
He's in a really awkward position because the combination of Gruul plus Rhythm of the Wild, Gruul Spellbreaker's Hexproof, he has to do things on his own turn to deal with that, but then the Rhythm of the Wild allows any creatures following it to have haste, which can hit him being at 8. Italy plus 3 Rhythm of the Wilds is 2 counters and haste.
It's lethal.
So he's in a really bad spot here. I think
he's found a second copy of Kaya's Wrath, but if he casts it now and she draws a land, we're done.
Well, luckily he's got the Thought Erasure, but she drew a second Italy.
Yeah, this is not what he wants to see. In fact, he's kind of doing her a favor here. The Italy is legendary, so she wouldn't be able to cast both anyway.
I mean, the plan here was to take the Italy and then Vraska's Contempt the Spellbreaker, hope she doesn't draw a creature to give you 1 turn, but these Rhythm of the Wilds are really a huge problem right now.
They are a super scary position for Savjz to be in here, facing down the potential for massive hasty threats every single turn for the rest of the game.
He's going to have to Vraska's Contempt here because that'll put him at 10 life, which will put him out of range from a lethal Italy. If he were to cast anything else, he would stay at 8 and would likely die to a land.
That's what he does. He's going to hold his breath, and she finds another 6-mana card. It's Carnage Tyrant.
She took a really
and she's
deep
like,
breath.
come on. I drew too many lands last game, and I want one now so badly. Now, what can Savjz get going in the time that he has, though? Because these creatures will come down this game at some point. She's not going to miss forever.
Well, luckily for her, Carnage Tyrant, I believe, is 7/6.
Yeah, that's right. Double uncounterable, triple riot, you know.
Yep. and it does have hexproof. But with the riot, she wants to give it haste with one of them. The other 2 will get counters, which is 9. Only put him to 1.
There it is, stopping ground off the top of the library for Pterodactyls, and she is going to windmill Carnage Tyrant. Can't be counter trample and hexproof plus
and
3 instances of riot.
So this is going to be a 9/8 haste. Going to put Savjz at 1. And
there's really not a lot he can do here outside of Kaya's Wrath on his turn, but that would leave him in a position where that Italy could finish the deal.
Luckily, though, he's got enough mana where he's going to go to 1 this turn. He's going to untap and cast Kaya's Wrath. As long as he has 4 black mana, which I'm counting 4, he's able to cast Kaya's Wrath and leave up Vraska's Contempt, and he can Vraska's Contempt the Italy.
Yeah, and he can go for an Insight here as well, right?
Yeah, well, he has no choice here. There's nothing else he can really cast, so he's likely going to Insight.
Get rid of that negate. He's going to go for Escant to the Sunken Ruin instead. Okay.
Much better. Instead of drawing 2, you get your choice of the next 4.
Yeah, it digs you much deeper, and the type of cards that he's looking for are the same anyway. So let's see what he finds. A Thought Erasure. That actually is pretty good here.
And an Absorb. This is huge.
So he can Wrath and Thought Erasure and leave Pterodactyls on nothing. Of course, if she draws something big, it would be over.
Yeah, it might actually be better. If you do this, you're still dead to a top-decked creature. It might be better to just Wrath and hold up Vraska's Contempt, because she likely doesn't have mana to play 2, or she doesn't, because you know Italy costs 6.
Yeah.
So if she were to draw any other creature, see, this is very...
This is super risky, David.
Oh, never mind. He was able to leave... No, he only has 2 mana up. Yeah, this is really risky.
No, he used Teferi this turn.
Oh, Teferi will untap the lands.
Yeah,
okay,
so he can leave up... Well, what is he leaving up?
Absorb and Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah, but Absorb isn't going to do much, right? I guess he could just gain the life, but... But Rhythm of the Wild is kind of a quench. And there's Rootbound Craig off the top of the library. Pterodactyls for the win. Really needs to start finding some action and quickly, because we know how this goes with Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. We've got a really close one here in our match. Early in the morning here at the Mythic Invitational, things are getting intense.
Yeah, I'm looking at her deck list, and I'm trying to find something that can get her out of this. I mean, I would say Cinder Vines, but he's got Negate for that. Gruul Spellbreaker. Gruul Spellbreaker would have hexproof. She wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be able to Vraska's Contempt or Moment of Craving that. So I think Gruul Spellbreaker is pretty much the best answer. She's got to draw one of the Gruul Spellbreakers.
Quadruple Riot.
All the other creatures can get a removal spell. We'll take them out. That is the only one. So she's got 3 of them left. She's drawing to a 3-outer.
By the way, the clock is very much ticking on Pterodactyls here because that is Teferi all the way at 7 loyalty already.
She just circled her deck for a little luck. She's got 45 cards
come
left.
on, top deck. It is Growth Chamber Guardian. Not bad at all. That's like drawing 2 creatures.
Unfortunately, it's not, though, because when she goes to activate the Adept, he can respond with a removal spell.
And she doesn't have enough to do it twice, does she?
She doesn't have enough to do it twice, and the counter will not be placed on it, so she won't be able to search out a second Growth Chamber Guardian. Actually, though, so this one for Absorb, the creature won't be countered.
No, but maybe he just wants to gain life.
But unfortunately, it'll tap him. He's only got, let's see, I guess he's
He'd
got the
have
mana
4
left
mana
over.
still, yeah.
He still has mana left over.
And he didn't actually do it anyway, so there's Growth Chamber Guardian hitting the battlefield.
Oh, with the counters, the Moment of Craving actually won't do it. He'd have to cast 2 if she wants to activate it. So, oh, it actually triggers from the counters from Riot to get another copy out.
That is hilarious, David. That is an interaction that I forgot about.
You don't see it very often.
Yeah,
yes.
so she's getting this regardless. This Growth Chamber Guardian ended up being insane off the top of the library. Boom. Boom,
wow.
Both at you, she says. 2 Growth Chamber Guardians.
Oh my.
Either one is lethal.
I totally missed it. And
this is fantastic stuff. He can survive here, though, right? He can go up to 5 off of
2 Moment of Cravings.
Exactly. Finishing off one of the Growth Chamber Guardians and putting him at a scant 1 life. Pterodactyls is applying huge pressure and still has another Growth Chamber Guardian in hand.
I'm actually shocked she didn't play the 3rd Growth Chamber Guardian.
Me too.
I mean, it looks like it would have been lethal. Granted, she can probably do it this turn, the same exact play.
This next turn.
But I'm curious as to why she. I mean, I think she was worried about Kaya's Wrath, but he would need quite a bit of removal and
he would need it right now
to have done that on that turn. I don't think he had the mana to have done that all. So I'm a bit confused as to why the 3rd Growth Chamber Guardian didn't come out, but I'm just shocked. I totally forgot about that interaction. That was incredible. That was awesome.
She could have attacked for 12.
That was awesome.
She draws a 2-drop, and she's swinging for 12 damage with haste.
Because they all get 2 counters and haste. That's incredible.
That is
what an
absurd.
interaction.
And you can see that Savjz is feeling it here. This is an extremely tough position that these 3 copies of Rhythm of the Wild have put him in. He has all the tools that you would normally need to win a game like this, but the rhythms have made him so off balance because of haste.
Yeah, this is incredible. Even if he were to, like, say, tuck the Growth Chamber Guardian, he knows she has one in her hand, which can search that one out and the other one out and put him right back in the same position.
That's right.
What an amazing card Rhythm of the Wild is.
He's thinking about, okay, I can get rid of one of them now. Then she plays the other one, but she should have the 4th one still floating around somewhere.
He might have to just absorb one to gain 3 life, to, cast Absorb, Revitalize.
Yeah, does he have enough mana? That's the question, right?
If he contempts now, he would have mana because he's going to untap 2 land with the Teferi.
This is the view now from Savjz's side of the battlefield. As you can see, what he's looking at is staring down the 1 known card in hand, 1 unknown card, as well as the 3 copies of Rhythm of the Wild.
I think he's just dead because if he Vraska's Contempt, he's going to go up to 3. She's able to play 2 more Growth Guardians, which, as we saw, are both 4/4 haste. He can absorb 1 to go to 7, but he's still going to be taking 8 from the 2 4/4. So I actually don't see any way he can get out of this.
And playing Kaya's Wrath and then Vraska's Contempt doesn't get him anywhere either way, right?
Kaya's Wrath takes care of this one. She plays 1, goes to get another. He can respond, but because it enters with the counter due to the wording on Rhythm of the Wild, Vraska's Contempt.
Does this help at all?
Well, it does solve the Growth Chamber Guardian problem, yeah.
At least that one.
That was it. That was a huge draw.
Wow, Thought Erasure to take away the Growth Chamber Guardian in hand means that she can't search up the other Growth Chamber Guardian, and all he needs to do is kill this one, and he'll once again be looking at an empty board. Let's switch back to Pterodactyl's view here, and once again, we're in a situation where now she needs to find some action off the top of the library, David.
Well, it's beautiful. That card was actually the perfect draw for him, because now he can leave up Vraska's Contempt, too, for this top deck elf.
Llanowar Elves off the top of the library, which is actually lethal, but he does have the answer. Normally, this Llanowar Elves would have gotten the job done quite cleanly.
The bad news for Sheila here is...
Oh, no. She needs to hit Z to untap that. You can still do it.
The really bad news for...
So she accidentally tapped it for mana. shoot. Yeah, I think she could have actually still done that there. Maybe she skipped to the next phase. That was a misclick there
I hope
from
he
Pterodactyls.
Yeah, he's going to Vraska's contempted, so hopefully
she'll feel better after that, yeah.
But the bad news for her here, there's really bad news. Teferi's on 8. So on his turn, he can get an emblem, and he's got 3 Chemister's Insights.
Oh, my
So that's
goodness.
basically 4 mana exile, a Rhythm of the Wild, and the creature you just drew, you know, whatever she plays. So she really needs to draw Gruul Spellbreaker.
Does he just go for the mana at this point? Like, it plays around cards that are uncounterable.
I think he might be able to use 1 since he's got so much mana, but I think it's just a better play to wait. The only
like that one right there. Carnage Tyrant off the top of the library for Pterodactyls.
Maybe he should have went for the mana.
Yeah, maybe he should have went for the mana, David.
Oh,
we were just talking about this, and that is a huge top deck here for Pterodactyls. She's brought dinos, and she brought the King Dino off the top of the library.
What he needs to do is cast 2 Chemister's Insights, exile all the Rhythm of the Wilds.
Yes.
Therefore, it doesn't have haste. Then he gives himself a chance to draw Kaya's Wrath.
Oh my God, this is insane.
Oh, look at her. I love her emotions. She shows
I know,
she got so
she's
excited.
feeling it. Yep. She knew what a huge top deck that was, but she also knows what a huge play this is from Savjz right now.
So he's exiling the Rhythm of the
And
Wild.
he is supremely punished for not taking out at least one of those lands, if not 2 of them the last turn. But still, remember, Carnage Tyrant is uncounterable itself, so it is going to hit the battlefield. It just will not kill Savjz right now. He needs to find an answer, and quickly.
Wow.
Mastermind's Acquisition.
Wow.
That might have been it.
Let's look at the
see what he has
sideboard.
in his yard is Erikaya's Wrath.
He's got Cleansing Nova.
Cleansing Nova is good
He's
enough. That is another sweeper, as we call him in the game. And here we go. Mastermind's Acquisition. He can get any card from his library
He's also
or
got
his
the Eldest
sideboard.
Reborn.
Or Eldest Reborn. That would work too.
Eldest Reborn's
That's
a
what
little
he's going to do.
Because
he gets his own Carnage
he gets
Tyrant.
his own
that
Carnage
way.
Tyrant in 2 turns. Oh my.
What a top deck for Savjz. This has been an incredible game to kick things off early in the morning here. And away goes Carnage Tyrant.
She's still got draw phases. There's more.
He has another Chemister's Insight. Is it time? It's a Regisaur Alpha off the top of the library now. That, though, can finally get countered by an Absorb since the Rhythm of the Wilds are finally gone. And this one has now swung firmly back in Savjz's direction.
Yeah.
Things are going to be extremely difficult for Pterodactyls right now. She put up such a great fight and had him on the rope so many times. I'm really impressed by Savjz and his ability to find his way out of these almost impossible scenarios.
Unfortunately for her, too, the Teferi Emblem plus a Chemister's Insight on deck. Him being at 6 life now, so even a Gruul Spellbreaker will only do 3, and then he'll be able to untap and deal with it.
Can we upgrade that to 8 life here, David, as well? So, yeah, this thing is spiraling out of control now. This one is going to go to Savjz here in a turn or 2, but my goodness sakes, what a game from Pterodactyl. She gave him all he could handle.
What a comeback.
Unbelievable comeback for Savjz.
I think she might be kicking herself for not playing that 3rd Growth Chamber Guardian. I mean, unless I'm missing something, she did have 2 mana up. I think if she had played it, it's a 4/4 haste. He didn't have enough. He ended at 1 with the 2 creatures. I think that 1 extra creature. I mean, I get it. You don't want to play into Kaya's Wrath. You don't want to dump your hand, but I think that right there was the game.
And that is the game. Savjz picks it up here. And wow, that was a close one. I'm good to go, and
Both
they are good to go,
keep.
and we are underway here. So we're going to kick things off with turn 1 Sky Marcher Aspirin here from Savjz, and he says, that's all I got, your move. This next draw step, by the way, from Savjz is going to be very important. If he can find a 1 or a 2 drop, that could really turbocharge this draw. If he doesn't, well, it's going to be really slow for him.
I think we're going to go ahead and see this Aspirant shocked here.
Yeah, it looks like it's Unbreakable Formation is the draw step here. Honestly, not really what he wants to see at this point. He's going to have both of his creatures killed. He's going to be left with the Venerated Loxodon, and that formation is going to sit in his hand. Now, if this game goes on for a while, that could be really good, but not with the configuration he has currently.
Yeah, I think you're going to likely see a Direfleet Daredevil here just to get on the board. He could hold up Lightning Strike so that end of turn he could Lightning Strike any potential Banalish Marshals and then untap and play a Gruul Spellbreaker on 3. But knowing that there's not any value to get out of the Direfleet Daredevil really against the white deck, yeah, he's just going to go ahead and play it.
Wow, another Venerated Loxodon is the draw step. So Savjz's hopes and dreams lay with this Banalish Marshal, and it is going to get snapped off by a Lightning Strike here. Get in for 2 damage.
Yeah, I mean, he's
kind of out of gas at this point.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and do it. I was going to say he did have a choice. He could have played Gruul Spellbreaker, which would have actually set him up to be in a bad position if Savjz drew a land, played a Loxodon to pump it up.
Ooh, hello.
This changes things quickly.
Yeah, another Banalish Marshal off the top of the library kind of puts the ball back into John Rolfe's court and says, do you have another answer? Because If he gets to untap, find that land, all of a sudden we're going to see Venerated Loxodon hit the battlefield.
Ooh, nice bluff.
Oh, this is a sick
I
bluff
love
here
it.
from John Rolfe. Sends in his first
Instant.
striker
Sends
and
it
says,
in.
Savjz, welcome to high-level Magic. You're not going to block this.
You don't see that very often, but when you do, it's pretty cool to think about. And you notice how Savjz didn't even pause. He just instantly did not block. He just doesn't want to risk it.
You know who else didn't pause? John. He's like, go to combat,
Draw,
attack.
Attack, yeah.
Yeah. Legion's landing was the draw step here for Savjz. Not perfect, but it'll do.
So what he was representing here is he was representing shock, because if he had Lightning Strike, he would already cast it. So now I think you're likely going to see Savjz also play around a shock.
Wow, that's a lot of extra value for John Rolfe. Well played by him. But Conclave Tribunal does hit the battlefield, taking out the Gruul Spellbreaker.
Yeah, although this hand without the removal is playing well for Savjz. I mean, if he's able to live through these next 2 turns, he's going to get these Loxodons out. His creatures are going to get pretty large, and then he can follow it up with Unbreakable Formation and have an amazing attack. I think you're going to see Spellbreaker into Thorn Lieutenant, attack for 2 down to 14. And then here comes Venerated Loxodon, pumping both those creatures up to a 4/4 and a 3/3. And the Loxodon itself will be a 5/5, which is bigger than anything on the board.
We said it. We said, look, if this game goes on for a while, these are his most powerful options, right? And that's exactly what's happened. So Venerated Loxodon can come down as a 4/4. Yeah, he's under some pressure. He's down to 11, but somehow this mono white deck just has the ability to go bigger than the green red deck. What kind of a world are we living in here, David?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this happen time and time again. I think you know, this might be one of the better creature matchups against the white deck, but the white deck frequently just make its creatures larger.
It's insane.
I mean, right now, John can consider just alpha striking, which is sending everything. If he has a 6 land, which he does, the Thorn Lieutenant threatens to be bigger, right? Because it's +4/+4.
That's correct.
So he can send all 3, or he could just send the Lieutenant and pump. But I think if you send all 3, Savjz blocks a Spellbreaker. You do 4, put him to 7. Play another Direfleet Daredevil. Yeah, it's tough. I think maybe you just send the Lieutenant here.
He doesn't want to throw away the Spellbreaker for 2 damage here, it looks like. Oh, no. He's thinking.
Yeah, it's tough, because the problem is like if your opponent flips that Legion's Landing, then he's going to have blockers for your Lieutenant.
So it's just going to be the Thorn Lieutenant, and now he has to decide, do I want to take the free 2 damage or add on an extra 4?
Wow.
He says, I'll take the 4, put you down to 5.
Look how this is playing
Last
out.
in there.
But possibly Savjz might Unbreakable Formation this turn, and if he does, Direfleet Daredevil can cast that Unbreakable Formation.
Oh, and he even has enough mana to do it.
Right, and then his creatures become amazing. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
He's doing it. This is Unbreakable Formation. He's hovering over. Will Savjz go for it and open this door? He is.
And he doesn't have lethal. I mean, his creatures are bigger.
But John can just take this, right?
John can take this, but unfortunately for John, though, even if he flashes back the Unbreakable Formation, Savjz's creatures are still bigger.
Yeah,
like right now, look at John's creatures, put a counter on them. They're still not bigger than a 6/6, a 5/5, and a 4/4.
Bang, bang, bang. Down to 5, 15 damage from Savjz. And this is going to open the door for him for John to Direfleet Daredevil, but...
Oh, wow, though. He's going to tap. He's going to play this Loxodon.
Okay, wait, does this open the door for a win?
He's going to have 1 blocker back, which will be a 5/5. It can block the Spellbreaker, and he's going to have only 6 damage coming through. But he will be able to put his opponent into Lightning Strike range, although the lifelink creature the following turn will take him right back out of lifelink range. And he'll have lethal. Well, they'll be untapped. But yeah, this is it's cute, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
So close here for John Rolfe, but it is Savjz who is ahead and looks to stay that way from this perspective.
So he chose not to tap the other Loxodon and leave himself 2 blockers, which is pretty smart.
It's Goblin Chainwhirler off the top of the library, and remember when we said that was good against mono white? 6/6, 6/6, 5/5/5/5.
I see why we don't call it white weenie anymore. It's just mono white aggro, because these are not weenies. Look at these guys. These guys are enormous.
I mean, green-red is supposed to be able to put out the biggest creatures, right? That's kind of the name of the game for that color pair, and it is just getting soundly trounced by mono white in the creature department here.
I think I might have tapped the Loxodon and left the... No, because then it would just be a 4/4 lifelinker.
Yeah,
he could have left the lifelinker up also instead of the Loxodon.
He thought about it. He did.
Interesting.
I think he decided there's just no way this guy's killing me next turn, and I'd rather have a bigger lifelinker to crack back with or block with going forward. So here it is, Unbreakable Formation exiled from the Direfleet Daredevil, and he gets to cast it now, but it somehow just doesn't look like it's going to be enough.
Yeah, he could send all his creatures, which he does, but he's only going to get through for 3 damage here. So I think he's going to like. I mean, it's 3 damage. They're indestructible, so there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
But if he had left a lifelinker back, then it actually wouldn't even net any life because he could just put the 4/4 lifelinker on the 3/2 Direfleet Daredevil.
As it stands, Savjz is just going to soak up as much damage as he can. In this case, that's going to be 7.
The creatures are indestructible, so it's just basically put a counter on your guys, and your opponent takes 3.
Yeah. I suppose he's still considering the possibility of shock going back multiple turns and just figuring, well, is there one I want to lose? He had the 6/6 on the 4/4, but figured if he had the shock, that would lose my 6/6, and I'd rather keep that. But that's not, in fact, what John has. That was a bluff going back multiple turns. And once again, you see 5, 10, 15, 22.
This is an alpha strike here because all 4 of your creatures are lethal. Your opponent's at 5. I guess he is worried about maybe a block, shock, and then a kind of attack, and then drawing a lightning strike maybe. But like he could chump block everything, put the 5/5 on a 3/2, cast shock, which would first strike plus shock kill the lifelinker, lose 3 creatures, have a 3/2 back. But even so, you have a dodge till the first for it.
Yeah, you're right, but it gets super interesting because of that play earlier where shock is the card that Savjz is supposed to think that John Wolf has here.
Yeah, but I think he may have realized that there's no shock.
No
the way the game's played out, there's no shock. So I think we're going to see all creatures get blocked. Oh, this is an interesting play. First strike and take down the Banalish Marshal, which would leave the 5/5 that's unblocked only does 4. Really heads up play by John Rolfe here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. John Rolfe, what do we have here? Remember, Banalish Marshal is responsible for +1/+1 on every other creature, but thanks to First Strike killing it right now, it will go away, and he's only getting in for 4. Is there an opening here for John Rolfe to win this game still?
Likely not. The lifelink from that 4 put him at 10, and he's got an untapped Adonto the first for it. And because it's untapped, Chain Whirler can't get it because he can make it in combat. So it's going to be pretty hard to do 4 more damage with these Direfleet Daredevils. And being at 1, he's going to need 4 blockers to deal with. Well, actually, he can play the Chain Whirler, which would kill the token, so now he's got enough blockers, but he doesn't have an attack.
That is a lot of First Strike he's got available, though. This gets kind of interesting.
Yeah.
If he attacks with all 3, he forces... I mean, again, one unknown card in hand for John. If Savjz could see his hand, he would know.
Yeah, if he attacks with all 3, he has to line up 1 creature on each attacker.
Right.
2 of them get eaten, 1 of them eats the token, and you end up with 2 Loxodons against a Goblin Chain Whirler.
But is there risk there from Savjz's side not knowing what that last card is in hand for John?
I don't think so because you can make a 1/1 lifelinker in combat. Ooh, he chose not to attack.
Yeah, but I mean, that makes sense. If he attacks with all 3 and he loses, he can just have one of his creatures eaten, chump block the other one, burn the other one.
Yeah, but it's pretty obvious he doesn't have a burn spell the way this game played out in the last combat went.
Well, would you risk it?
It's not really I think it's not really a risk. You're trading your token for 2 of his creatures.
Well, if he had a burn spell, though, he could double block 2 First Strikers on the 5/5 or whatever, right? I mean, that thing's
I just think you can
gone.
deduce he didn't have a burn spell with the way the game played safely. It's almost
Would you put
impossible.
your tournament on it?
I think so.
Okay. I believe you, by
If
the
not,
way.
you allow this to happen. Like he draws more creatures.
Yeah,
you
seriously.
give him time to draw more threats.
There's a downside to not making that line of play, absolutely. And
now
there's
look
the
at this.
lightning strike. John Rolfe is at 1 life
by
here.
not going for it. Had he gone for it the previous turn, just now would have been a profitable attack to win the game. Now, by not going for it, the lightning strike was finally drawn, which is really going to make combat difficult for him.
All the First Strike on the other side of the battlefield for John Rolfe is really kind of wrecking the attack step here for Savjz. He's still dangerously close to winning. Remember, John's only at 1. He's ahead on creatures, and he's making an additional creatures every turn, regardless of his draw step.
Now, if he makes a token, he's going to have 6 attackers with 4 blockers and 1 card in hand. 2 are going to get through. 1 gets lightning strike if he has a burn spell, so he is going to die.
Yeah.
So that should be enough. 6 attackers, 4 blockers, 1 removal spell means 1 gets through. And because there's only 1 card in hand, you know it's not something that can kill 2 creatures. So I think he's thinking here he just wants to not misstep and not make a creature. He has to make sure he remembers to make a 1/1 lifelinking vampire token, and that should be it.
Perhaps a desperation attack here from John Rolfe, seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah, he's thinking about it, but I think he sees there's no drawback to blocking the Loxodons on the 3/2s. I mean, your opponent's going to do that. He's hoping maybe his opponent just takes it and he can lightning strike for the win because he knows he's dead otherwise because I think he can be pretty sure Savjz is not going to forget to make a token. So if you know you're dead otherwise, you might as well. This is the Hail Mary play. Just send him and see what happens.
And that's what he's got to do, because the Rekindling Phoenix has a clean line of attack here. He just needs one of the other creatures to get through, and then he would win off of that Lightning Strike, but Savjz is having none of it. He's going to put up blockers on everything here.
Yeah, knowing your opponent's deck list with one card in hand, you can pretty much deduce what the worst thing that could happen is. And just looking at it, you know, Collision Colossus could give Trample, so you got to worry about that.
Oh, that's a great point. That's an interesting one, too.
And if you had Collision Colossus on one of the Daredevils at 7, that's enough, right? 7 minus 1. First strike, you take 6 and then 4 in the air.
So he may want to rethink his blocks here.
Yeah, I think that's why he kind of moved around, but I don't think there's actually a block that gets through that unless you put all 3 of your 1/1s on the Direfleet Daredevil. But even then, it's going to be 7 minus 3 is 4. You're taking 8. So that actually would have been the block that did it.
But it didn't work for John Wolf. He is attacking in to knock him down to 5, but he's losing the majority of his board, or half of it, I should say. And this is going to line up a beautiful attack here for Savjz to take down game number 1. Wolf made it interesting. The Direfleet Daredevil play was pretty cool, but here
I will say this.
We are done.
Even though John Wolf lost this game, I'm very impressed with his play, and I see why he's in the MPL. He played this game very well, considering what he had.
Yeah, he's really smart.
He gave himself the best chance to win. Had he drawn Collision Colossus there in that last turn, I think he would have actually pulled that game out.
Yep, he gave himself outs to win, but it was not to be. That was Savjz taking down game number 1 and putting himself just one game away from advancing out of Group C. What are we looking at for the matchup? Remember, the players are going to play the decks that they didn't play in this first game, and we're going to switch the play draw regardless. So that would be Esper Control for John Rolfe and Esper Control for Savjz.
Yeah, it looks like Savjz is actually better prepared for the mirror. He has 2 copies of Kaya, 1 negate, 2 syncopates, whereas John Rolfe doesn't have any. He has 1 Kaya, 2 negates, and 0 syncopates. So 1 extra threat and 1 extra counterspell, which I'm assuming they have close to 26 land or 24 land, so they probably somewhere between there, which means he has less dead cards because he has more cards that are relevant in this match. You know, less things like Moment of Craving. So let's see, they both have Moment of Cravings. No Cry the Carnariums for Savjz. Excellent hand for Savjz. 3 lands. He's going to want some more lands. 2 Teferis, a Syncopate, and a Search for Azcanta.
Wow, and a Thought Erasure as well to help clear the way a little bit down the line for one of those Teferis. Things looking beautiful here.
An equally impressive hand for John Rolfe. No dead cards. Absorb and Thought Erasure are both very important. Kaya and a Teferi. This Thought Erasure can help ensure that your Kaya gets through next turn.
So Thought Erasure turn 2 here from John.
Tough choice here what to take. I mean, Search for Azcanta is one of the key cards in a control mirror, and he doesn't have a Mortify in hand or a way to get rid of it. So I think we're going to see that, which we do. But then now he knows he's going to get Thought Erasure right back.
Probably take away that Kaya.
Leave him on a 5-drop and an Absorb. An Absorb is not a proactive card, so he has no worries there. So I think we're going to see Kaya taken. I don't think you want to leave a Kaya because even though it's a little slow, it's still going to gradually gain an advantage. Exiling cards from your yard, I mean, if you do get another Search for Azcanta, it won't really be able to flip. Eventually you'll have to deal with it. If not, that ultimate ability can really cause some problems for you in the late game. He could take the Teferi, leave him with no threats, or even the Absorb to kind of ensure that he can resolve a Teferi of his own, assuming Rolfe doesn't draw any counterspells in the next few turns. Really tough choice here.
Yeah, Kaya's the most immediate threat, but she doesn't necessarily win the game.
I like the Kaya because you just keep your opponent, not doing anything right now.
Now, he went for the Absorb, saying, you know what, I'm just going to cast my Teferi in a couple of turns and get rid of Kaya anyway, but boom, negate right off the top of the library there from John.
Right back that.
Hello, friend. And, of course, he does get to resolve Kaya Orzhov Usurper and see if she can take over the game going forward. Again, from the immediacy standpoint, not super insane, but she is a problem going down the line.
Beautiful. The Surveil allowed him to put a Thought Erasure right back on top so he can go in and get either that Teferi or the negate. We could see him take the Teferi here because he's got 2 threats that need to be negated. But his opponent doesn't have a 5th land, so he goes in and took the negate because if his opponent resolves the Teferi, he can just play his own Teferi and tuck John Rolfe's Teferi. He's going to go ahead and put a an Absorb in the graveyard because he doesn't have his 5th mana. He's got 2 mana in play, 2 in hand. I think he wants to make sure he hits his land drops. He's decided he's going to be playing kind of tap-out blue, it feels like, once he gets to 5 mana. So holding up for Absorb is not where he wants to be right now, especially after he knows his opponent's hand. He's going to have Syncopate if John Rolfe decides to tap out for his Teferi on turn 5. Although John Rolfe knows that, and if he plays his land next turn, John Rolfe does know all of his hand except his draw phase.
Another land off the top of the library there for Savjz. He's going to play this land tapped and pass the turn back. The Syncopate looks a lot worse when your opponent knows about it. They can play around it at their leisure.
See, he did not walk into the Syncopate yet. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to get that Syncopate out of your opponent's hand, but I don't think he wants to put his last business card and then be left with nothing. Now, Savjz knows his opponent only has Teferi and Swamp. Excuse me, not Swamp, just Teferi and Random card. He can play his own Teferi here. It's going to untap 2 lands, which will allow him to Syncopate for 1, but John Rolfe will be able to play a land and cover that Syncopate for 1. So he can play his own Teferi and tuck Savjz's Teferi. Wow. Negate's a good draw, but he doesn't have enough mana. If he decides to tuck, it won't untap 2 lands, and he won't be able to cast a Negate. But if he does play his Teferi, he has to tuck Savjz's Teferi, or Savjz can just do it right to him.
It's kind of a forced play here when you're playing Teferi against Teferi.
Yeah, I think we're going to see -3. Put Savjz's Teferi below, but he knows Savjz has another Teferi, so maybe that's why he's just going to draw a card. Doesn't accomplish much if you know your opponent has one. It's just pretty unfortunate that Savjz can just put John Rolfe right back in his deck.
Goes to his end step.
He exiled cards from his own graveyard. And there goes the Teferi, 3 cards from the top. We've got a Syncopate now online with 6 mana against just a Negate and some lands. But luckily for John Rolfe, he has that Negate, and it's going to line up. He'll have his 7th mana when he plays his Teferi. So unless Savjz draws another counterspell, he'll be able to get it in the board. But unfortunately, Teferi will be back up to 4 loyalty by then and be able to just tuck it one more time. Although with the Vraska's Contempt, he can actually just Vraska's Contempt it. He's going to go ahead and get the Kaya with the Vraska's Contempt, or at least attempt. He doesn't know any cards in John Rolfe's hand. Doesn't have enough mana to Syncopate this Negate, so the Contempt will be negated. Love the art on the card style on the Vraska's Contempt.
Ooh, it looks really nice how it's all blacked out, and then just the artwork is kind of super highlighted there in the middle. Looks fantastic.
Love that.
Also not a bad effect in the game of Magic the Gathering as we see it taking out a
pretty strong card.
Planeswalker.
Pretty strong card.
David, I got an update for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Mike Sigrist and Reed Duke were battling it out in the other decider. Reed Duke?
Reed Duke.
I haven't said what happened yet.
Oh, okay.
He won.
Okay, yeah. He lost 0-2 the first time they played, and he came back and got it done, huh?
He did. He came all the way back, and he is going to advance through from Group C. Reed, one of the lucky to escape so far. Seth Manfield, Yellow Hat, and Reed Duke.
Good guy, Reed.
And this is going to decide the 4th and final person to emerge from the group.
It's looking good for Savjz. He's got a Teferi unimpeded. He's got a handful of cards.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get that update in here because Savjz is starting to pull ahead pretty significantly here. And now John Rolfe has to decide if he wants to fire Negate off on Mastermind's acquisition. He says, yes, I do.
Really impressive showing by Savjz. I've been impressed with this play here.
I agree.
Coming from another game, not one of the known Magic pros, and he's been hanging with them, playing well. Big fan.
You're a big fan of his?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Big fan of the guy.
Watched his stream before and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So we got to have Teferi here with how much mana left over? 4 mana left over. But we know about a Syncopate, so we're not going to cast it because we just get Syncopated and have no cards in hand. So John Rolfe's going to just hope to draw something.
I mean, what can he even find at this point? Like, this has gotten so out of hand. Look at the cards in hand.
Yes, he needs
it's 7-1.
He needs like a main deck Nezahal like Nassif has, but unfortunately he doesn't have that. There's looking at his deck list here, I don't really see a way out of this. I mean, he would have to have just a string of good cards back to back to back. I mean, this is a start. he can absorb the Syncopate, but unfortunately for him, Teferi in play he can just put his back, back 3 cards down. And he's right back where he started.
2 backup Teferis in hand for Savjz.
3.
Well, excuse me, 3 Teferis in hand. He's got all 4.
You like? Hey, kid, I heard you like Teferis.
Yeah, no kidding. I got 3 extras. Give you a good deal. So a little bit of a counter fight here. Syncopate on your Teferi, absorb back as you described, David, and that does let
this is brutal.
John Rolfe finally resolve a Teferi, but it's
sigh of relief. John Rolfe's going to tuck his Teferi, I imagine. Nope, still not going to do it. Just going to draw a card, try to get back in it. And he doesn't know that there's a handful of Teferis, so he could tuck it, but Savjz, although with a Chemister's Insight, Savjz could just draw his draw phase and then Chemister's Insight, draw those 2 cards and get his Teferi back, replay it, tuck his, so that plan's not going to get you anywhere anyways. You just got to hope.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to minus Teferi on the other Teferi here straight away, but he's reconsidering it.
Yeah, I think when you're in a commanding advantage like this, that's the only way your opponent can get out of it is by having their own Teferi go nuts. So go ahead and get his off the board. Oh, and he's going to play another one. Basically, he's paying 5 mana to put 3 loyalty on his Teferi, because the Teferi he just used is down to 2, and this allows him to put it back up to 5 and get a card. So he just paid 5 mana to put some loyalty on his Teferi. Real heads-up play. Not a lot of players are would waste a Teferi in that sense, but just holding 4 of them total, 3 in your hand and 1 in play, you might as well.
Yeah, it's a resource you can afford.
Moment of Craving, Stone Blank, get rid of that, turn it into 2 more cards.
Ooh, and there's a Kaya as well. Yeah, this one has really fallen away from John Rolfe, and you can just see it. I mean, John Rolfe's hand is effectively 0 cards. Kaya's Wrath doesn't do anything in this matchup at all. And if you look down, sure, there's a few blanks in hand for Savjz as well, but for the most part, he's the one who's got things rolling thanks to the 2 Planeswalkers on his side. And this is where things snowball. Like, it's not getting better from here. There's no big swinging play right now in Standard where John can be like, I drew exactly the thing I needed and now I'm right back in this, because he would need a card that killed both Planeswalkers and drew him like 5 cards, and they don't print them like that.
Yeah, Planeswalkers are hard to catch up. So if you like Planeswalkers, War of the Spark.
There you go.
One in every pack.
There you go.
1 in every pack.
Yeah, and this is just a part of the play style, the play nature of Planeswalkers in Standard, is that they really do demand answers quickly. And in control matchups like this, Planeswalkers are designed so that you can attack them with creatures, and that doesn't happen here. So you need specific answers at specific times, and if you don't find them, they get completely out of hand, and Savjz is no stranger to that right now as he's looking down, dominating the board with Kaya and Teferi.
Yeah, John trying to navigate his way out. I'm sure he's thinking of what sequence of cards he needs to draw to give him the best chance. As we saw, he did that last game, so it's clear that he's a very thoughtful player. Trying to figure out a way to wiggle out of this. Not easy.
And it ain't getting any better here either, so once again, the Teferis are fighting each other.
By continually playing his Teferi and forcing Savjz to tuck it, though, he's keeping Savjz's Teferi from getting to 8 loyalty. Because once that emblem is there, there's no catching up.
Right. There's a couple of different ways that this game could end. One of them is that, make an emblem, eventually exile all of your lands, and then do the thing where you target Teferi with his -3 ability over and over again so that you don't get decked and your opponent does. Once you have no more cards in your library, if it's time for you to draw a card and you can't, you lose the game. That's just how it works in Magic. On the other side, there's also Kaya. She can do a lot of damage over the course of the game.
Yeah, it's adding up. Let's see, it's ticking up. Now, he finally drew an Absorb, so he can absorb John Rolfe's Teferi if he does play it, which will save him from having the -3 and tuck it, which will allow him to creep towards that 8 loyalty needed for the ultimate. Ooh, and a Search for Azcanta is just what he wants.
Yeah, it's funny because Mortify was kind of rotting away in John Rolfe's hands. He's going to find a target for it, but I believe that Savjz will fight over this.
Maybe not.
We'll find out.
Because you do want to stop your opponent's Teferi so that you can eventually get your Teferi emblem.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, though. I think it matters. You know what I mean? Like, if he decides to fight over this, if he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's just in such good shape here with this absurd hand.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and let it resolve.
He's got 6 spells and a land in hand versus 2 blank spells from John Rolfe, and still has the Planeswalker train rolling here as well.
Here's the Teferi we were waiting on, and the Absorb we held for it. Now,
That was a key moment, by the way. That was the turn right there where this game well and truly is done now.
Absolutely.
John was still in there, at least scrapping around with the Teferi, but this game's over.
I mean, it's been over for a while, but that was a big turn to allow it to end faster. But
can I call out the final nail in the coffin?
Yes, but if he didn't draw the Syncopate here, I mean, John Rolfe still had outs. He could just draw a Teferi right here and tuck that Teferi, and we're right back where we were. But now we've got Syncopate, so 4, 8, 12, 16 mana. We can do over 15. We've got plenty. And I say we as the player who it's on right now.
What's wrong with John Rolfe?
Absolutely nothing.
Because I was going to say we're not doing too good here, David. we are getting smacked around by 2 planeswalkers, and this one's not going to end well. And here we go. Plus, 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 plus. And then eventually we will see an ultimate here. In fact, next turn.
Thought erasure just to make sure there's nothing going on, but you can be pretty certain of it the way the game's played that your opponent doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want another thought erasure.
It's a good place to be.
Exile the cards you removed.
So now we have 2 planeswalkers on ultimate. Just a cool 18 loyalty here.
I believe Kaya's on double ultimate, right? It's -5. You can whack them twice. Thought erasure, going to see these Teferis.
And that is going to do it. Savjz earns the victory and earns his way out of Group C. Wow, well earned by him, by the way. That was not easy. He had to work his way through some of the best players in the game's history, and he has done so. So Savjz is going to be one of the only 4 players here out of Group C to actually make it through. He's going to join Reed Duke as well as Seth Manfield. And who was the last one?
Gabriel Nassif.
Gabriel Nassif, yellow hat
2
himself.
MPL, 2 challengers, one of which has an asterisk because he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best. But still, pretty sweet to see a nice mix coming through the group, not just all the big-name MPL members. It shows that a lot of these players came to play.
And I'm here with Savjz. How do you feel after that epic win?
I mean, obviously it feels great. It was the decider match, and now I'm through. So the match that I lost earlier, it doesn't matter. I also feel very good about my place in this match. I mean, I don't know if it was perfect. Maybe somebody can find something in there, but I'm happy. I think I did it good. I think my decks were great. I want to give a shout out to my friend Jeffrey Shio Brucey, who I unfortunately had to knock out in the lower bracket in the match before this. He did a lot of work. We basically played the same decks. He did the work for the decks, and I just wanted to say thanks to him. And I'm really extra happy that I did it because the player that I just played against also knocked out Shio. So
yeah, you just knocked out an MPL, and this is one of the biggest tournaments you've ever played in, right? You've never done a Pro Tour, even though you've been playing since '99 and are very well known. So how does it feel to be moving to the final 16 in your first really big championship?
I mean, nobody expected me to do it from the predictions. It's a tough field out here with so many pro players, so many players who have played for years and even professionally. I played card games for a long time. I love Magic. I played Magic for a long time, but I don't know, this is just beyond my wildest dreams to make it this far.
Well, we are wildly excited for you here, Savjz, and we're so excited that you're moving on to the final 16. You guys watching at home, make sure you stick around because we've got more. We've got the whole Group D coming at you. So let's hear a word from our sponsors.